Okay. Okay.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. But where were we before?
Okay, you were saying how images in our minds, they're not in this reality, but they're in a reality. And also then you started talking about pain. It's not physical per se, but it's real.
It's paused or it's a new one?
It's a new one. No, I think it's an old one. We'll figure it out.
Okay, pain. So you can make it start.
It's starting. Just go.
Okay.
We're gonna edit it, don't worry.
You don't have to, it's okay. I don't care. I don't care. This is like part of the fun. I enjoy it. Even this.
Yes. These are the outtakes.
Yeah, this is boom. So I was gonna say pain. So we were talking about pain that's not physical. Okay, so I'm saying everyone understands that pain is a consciousness, meaning in order for a computer to feel pain, you have to be at a point where you believe that the computer has a consciousness somehow. So we understand that pain is connected to a consciousness of pain. Now, so then it doesn't even add up that it should be in a place because my consciousness didn't like sit itself into this spot now. It's a consciousness is so it. I'll explain better why once we understand that images are not physical, we obviously understand that we who create these images are not part, are something else, are in a different realm, are doing things in that place, because the physical world is just, physicality is all about pieces and movement, volume, space, and movement. Now, how does that relate? However way you can twist and shape volume and space, it doesn't become into a sensation, a consciousness of pain. That's like a whole different world. And it doesn't become an image in no man's land through objects. It's a different reality, and we just have to look at it and just open ourselves up to it and go out of our box of thinking that the physical world is what we know and the other world is a belief. We could see it as a reality. Now, once we understand that we are not physical, that we're from a different, and what's the body? The body is like a drone. Imagine when there's a ride you can take where you lay down on a drone and you're covered and the drone flies around and you smell the roses because the drone could even go like low and high, and you see hilltops and beautiful buildings and everything, and you feel, if it rains you hear the raindrops. Now, and you take that ride, but your friend plays a trick on you that they actually connect all the sensors from that drone from a different drone to you're staying there put in the garage someplace, and that other drone is flying around, but all the sensors, the sights, the smells, everything sophisticated, imagination, right? I'm just imagining this is the thought experiment. And so you're laying there and you're totally feeling, you're convinced that you're flying. You took the ride because you're flying, and they just played a trick on you, and you're totally, so your friend is talking to you, and you're telling, yeah, I'm there, and you're laying right here. Now, so what happens is basically because the senses are, from that vantage point, we see ourselves there. So that's the same as what's happening with our body. We're not a physical being, we're not in a place, but because our sensors are from this drone, we see ourselves at where the drone is. So that's, I still have to explain how the non-physical is connected to the physical. And the answer will be because the physical is also really non-physical. Physical is is a consciousness. It's a consciousness of an imagery of touch. It's a few consciousness together, and you have a table. So it's but let's not go there for a second. I was going to say. So we see that there's a non-physical reality. We see that, and so take for example pain. Pain. There is what's happening really is we're just pain is someone could say I'm angry over here. No, because anger is a consciousness. Pain is also a consciousness. You can't say I have pain over here. Here triggers the pain. Therefore, like a ventriloquist who makes the movement so that you allocate the sound to where it makes sense. We allocate the pain to the place where every movement changes it, because this is the trigger. But it's because we became somehow used to seeing our everything in a physical way, trying to place it in because we can't even deal with our imagination. We're saying it's just an imagination. So pain that's so painful, so real, thank God we could make it a place. It's here. But because we did this, what we're losing, making this mistake, we're actually losing, we took away control of it. Because if it's there, it's like something that's here. It's here, that's not me. But if it's a consciousness, then we will pretty quickly get that it's a decision. Because no one controls my consciousness. If I say, I am not in control of it because it's over here, then we lose control of it. So this could actually change pain and pleasure. And science likes empirical evidence. There is empirical evidence, but scientists, medical people don't even know how to eat it. The empirical evidence I'm talking about is phantom limb pain. It's reality that there's a pain for a person after they were amputated for medical purposes or whatever, in the place where their hand was. A year later, 60% of the people report severe pain in the ear, in nothing. Where's the pain? Over here, where my hand was. It's called phantom limb pain, phantom limb sensation. That's 80% of the people have that. They feel sensations, not pain, but 60% have, even a year after that, it's a phantom limb pain. So the problem with that is it's obvious that the pain, if the pain would be physical, it would have to be located somewhere on the body. Because how is it existing without it being on any physical place? So it very clearly should show that pain is not a physical, it's a consciousness. And that consciousness is not physical. But they don't get it, so they don't even see it when they see the empirical evidence. Because if you let that, your net, your sieve, if you have a sieve that has 3-inch gaps, and then you'll come to a conclusion that there are no fish smaller than 3 inches, because all the 3 inches you let through. So if they don't know, they don't even know what to look for, they just let it through. And they don't see, so.
This reminds me of Kabbalah. Meaning to say, like, maybe you're talking about, I wouldn't say that pain is exactly an idea per se, but it seems like it, and the imagination and the pain and the things that, pain is a mental concept, right? You're saying it's a consciousness.
Yes.
So it seems like it would be in the realm of Bria.
I don't even know much in these structures. I never focused on that because I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. I tried to understand, and Hashem gave me Geulah, Nevuah, prophecy. Because I'll tell you why I say it, but let's continue first. Yes.
So, well, you mentioned prophecy. Do you want to go there?
But I was in a certain way. We were in the middle of
we're still in the pain. Yes.
And so that all shows that there is a reality, the most basic reality, our thoughts, our imagination, our feelings, our everything is in a different realm, not in the physical realm. So imagine a world where all people are living in a crazy reality, thinking that this body is them, when really they're something else entirely. It's like the biggest mistake. So I'm just saying, how interesting it is that because it is the fact that humanity hasn't figured itself out yet. And that's why fighting, tearing each other apart, and no one enjoys life. No one. As I mentioned, Elon Musk, in the interview, he says, "Don't be like me." I'm like, I don't know if I want to be like me. Well, I am happy, and I say, yes, be like me, because I'm happy. I know how to be happy, and that's also because I had that revelation. But I only talk revelation when I am backing it up with logic, with stuff like that. So now I'm just explaining the first step to get to the concept of God is to understand first that there's another reality, and that reality is not in space. And then it becomes very simple to see that that all of consciousness, all of human consciousness at least, share something at their core, that they're all the same, but they develop, they have their own character within that core that they all share, right? So in this world, once we realize that the humans are not a physical being and they're not separated physically, so if it's one core, then it's one. It's simply one. So it's just this core. What's the core? The core is, let's think of ourselves. Our core is there are places where we just physically think we can't, let's say we can't, but in our core essence, if we want to pick one word for, we would say totality, because that's all we are. That's all we are, is our me, our I. That's all we have. And total control, freedom, because we can just be. Even if we have impediments, if we have things, we know it's because we created stuff and things, but we understand that the basic reality is like, why not? Like, who's holding me back from? But we can't do the physical world because we seem to think, which we'll get to, that the physical world is a different reality that has. And once we'll understand the connection, we'll realize that it's, as I said, it's also, the physical world is also a non-physical element, because the physical world is just a combination of sight, touch, smell, taste in a certain setting and so that's, at the end of the day, that's sight, touch, and smell is non-physical. So that's why it's all non-physical, really.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, actually. It really does. Really hearing that the physical world is not even physical, because if you go to a lot of people who study Kabbalah come from engineering backgrounds and go into the molecular structure of things. When you get down to the very essence of it, it's not tangible. Another thing that you're saying that I want to just touch on is we're talking about a core, and you said that core is totality. And just to reflect what you're saying, it sounds like if we are identify with the soul as the dominant identity, right? Then we also recognize that the body and our pain, the sensations of the body is not exactly who we are. And I think, and you were talking about this, okay, when we talk about what is the soul, right? Is the soul a piece of collective totality, of collective divinity? Then it gets also to that concept that you're saying of this oneness, this that everything is actually has the same core. That core being God, maybe.
When we say everything has the same core, saying the core is God is like really saying the same thing, because the core means the core essence of it, and as I pointed out, that we identify, it's a very big theme by the Baal Shem Tov, Suri Echza, from my own reality I can see God, because really in the deepest way, our core, because not here, it's one core, because that's who we see ourselves as, our core, and that's one, because we're not separate, is the one that creates everything. That from there everything comes out. It's not creating, it's being.
Emanating.
It's being, because it all is. And so this is like obvious. I use the little philosophical terms with core, but it's very simple, that once you realize that there's a different world, we have to identify, we have to realize that there's one core, that's what's happening. And so it's one core that's just making itself in many different characters. And so obviously that it's very similar to an author creating a lot of characters for her book, and then sitting down and allowing the characters to play around, almost to have a life of their own, and just enjoying the characters that every character is herself. So this is the idea that Hashem, the core, created all these characters. Now, the characters and the world is created for having this trip, this fun of just like music is different notes, different connections, different combinations make beautiful music. The same thing, the world is supposed to be everyone is to connect each other, create beautiful new connections and new beautiful pleasures and beautiful stuff and amazing wow experiences. But because it's all fighting, we lose that. But that's the goal, that's how the core wants it, and that's what's going to happen when the new consciousness is going to kick in, when people are going to understand this and a lot more.
So how is the new consciousness going to kick in? Is there a theory of how that actually transpires?
We're in the middle of a lot of stuff, but obviously it's freewheeling. You like it that way. So
no. We go back. We can go back. Where were you? Forget. I'll keep that question on hold. Yes.
Okay. So we were talking about, if you can help me.
The core.
Okay. So then we're at step 2, meaning we know a reality of a non-physical reality that's just power. A power of creating images. It is. We just have physical reality is also in the end something that you just have to accept. Space. I don't understand. In empty space, you could put things, but you have to have space. There has to be something that's called space. It doesn't add up, but we just accept it. So the same thing is with the other reality, which actually probably makes more sense. Yeah, it does. It's just, this is the power. This is the energy. And I don't like the word energy, but this is the power. This is what it is. So we see that from imagery, and we also see it with music. Music, sound. Sound. You come into a room, the music is like pounding away, it's like rocking the place, right? But think about it. Till the ear, it's only movement of pieces, of particles, waves. No sound yet. That starts only when it hits the eardrum. So in the ear, there's no sound. Now it hits the eardrum, and the mind, the consciousness, whatever, translates into these movement of pieces into a whole new experience called experiencing sound. Okay. Now, but where is that loud music that we were just talking about? Where did that happen? In my head became a speaker, because we're saying till here it's nothing, no sound. It's not true. It's a mistake. So where is the sound? Sound is a perception. It's a consciousness. It's no place. It's a certain kind of perception. It's not like it's in a place. It's a certain kind of perception. And we went and placed it because we just need to find places for everything, to the extent when we have headphones, sometimes I realize that I placed the sound like in the middle of my head. I feel it's almost like a speaker over there. I placed it because we have to find a place. We can't just experience it, and because we were taught maybe in a baby, where's the boo-boo, where's the, you have to show, you have to identify. It takes kids a long time. They have to say that this is me. It doesn't make sense to them, but we pound it into them. So we realize that there's a whole reality that's not physical, and we are not physical, and this body is a drone that has the senses, certain things, it just gives it to the mind, and from there the consciousness takes over. We'll see soon how. The process, simple process, it's not so complicated as it sounds like. But so the consciousness, so that's why we sort of see ourselves as being here, because as the drone, which we discussed before, which I think we think we're there. So now, if we understand that consciousness is one core that just plays itself out in different characters, creates for itself different characters, me and you and everyone else, now the only thing that still remains to see is the physical world and how the physical body is connected to the consciousness. And that is by understanding, as we already discussed, that the physical world is really a conglomeration of a whole setup of sight, touch, meaning, think about sight. If you see something, but you can't touch it, you can't feel it, it's not physical. It's a mirage, it's like a mirage, I don't know the word. Mirage, it's like then let's say if you feel a sensation, but you can't locate it and it has nothing to do with imagery, then it's a sensation, but it's again not a physical thing. But if you take these two and you set it up to work in tandem with the other, meaning that if you put your finger here, if this sight is over here, then this touch, this sensation is like this. If this, then this. If this, then this. You created a physical table. So this shows again how two non-physical realities, by creating a relationship between the two, that everything coincides, it created a new reality. It created a physical reality. So it's again that concept, that creates the line. That's the koich of Bria, of creation, of Yud Vav, the name of God. So we see that the world is also, the physical world is also like that. Now, so then let's just imagine an author with a unlimited capacity of detailing, fine-tuning her imagination, right? So she creates a bunch of characters, trillion characters, because she's unlimited. Because there's nothing really that limits this core entity. It's only that core entity created characters with its own limitations. But the core entity we understand there's no limit. It's just endless possibilities. We see it in ourselves. So this unlimited capability, I forgot what I was going to say. Where was I a second before that?
So the physical world, you were talking about an author with an unlimited capacity of fine-tuning.
Yes. So now that author first creates a beautiful reality, but its characters, imagination. But now the author creates a whole setup where these characters will be directly influenced by a physical structure. By the physical structure, as we understand, is also a set of consciousness. So it's all, this author just plays around this set of consciousness. When it happens X, then this character feels this. So all of a sudden, if you create a correlation, just like I was saying with a box, the correlation that I was saying with a physical thing, with sight and touch, here the correlation is that this character gets a whole list of sensation based on certain sets of like called movements of this consciousness. So that's all of a sudden where this character now sees itself over there. It's like taking it to a whole new level. The author creates a whole new level of where it actually feels a physicality, because being that it could create all these details and have everything in its mind, not feel, I can't think so much. So it could create all those details. So that's basically the form of creation so
that's the form of creation.
What was that?
You were talking about the author, where the character, like basically that the reality becomes its own new thing. It's like 1 + 1 is not 2, 1 + 1 is new.
Right. Same theme here also, that because this character got connected to this set of which seemingly physical movement, it became like something total like human beings all of a sudden, because these things got connected in a way where it became, looks like it's one. Really, it's from a different perspective, which we confuse perspective. It's not confusing, meaning because in a certain way we want to play this game, we want to lose ourselves in this game, but we lost ourselves where we forgot the core, and so we became, it's very sad because we're not in control. But so this character, remind me, because I go off on a tangent, so if you're helping me out amazingly by typing around. Okay, so what was I saying before?
So basically we forget the core. That's part of it. Like,
right, but where was I going here? Like where's my direction?
You were talking about how there's a reality that's not physical, and and every reality, even what we think is physical reality, is a consciousness. And so there's different types or layers of consciousness reality, of the physical, we think ideas, pain, imagination, whatever. Right. Now the idea, I think what you were going with this is, because you started the interview off with the concept of pleasure, right? We're talking, like I'd say if we have a theme to the interview, it's a Geulah consciousness.
Right.
So how does your theory of the different planes of consciousness reality, and then your proof of God, right, which you say you got to somewhat through QW.
Oh, so
we're trying to find a thread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm saying that once I identified how easy it is for this core identity, which we identify as our core simply from looking in ourselves, from this very core, we understand the whole world perfectly. It's simple. It's just it sounds philosophical, but really it's just because we need to peel off layers. But it's a very simple. It's like, billions of people thought differently. They see themselves as physical, and they don't look at it. Just looking at it from the other angle and realizing that you got it all wrong, and looking at that way, everything adds up perfectly. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm very sure that there is this core, and everything is aligned. Everything is as simple as can be, and everything works out wonderfully. And I see where this is heading, because once we're one, now once we understand that, I want to live. I try to live where I just, because it's amazing pleasure to live where everyone is, I really see it, many times I experience it, where I am really everyone, because it's one I, and it's one, and that's the I. When I say I, that answers the problem, because when people, first of all, they identify I as a body, which is so confusing, it's insane. Number two, they still have a concept of I. Now the deep concept of I is a concept that it's a totality. There's nothing outside of it. But then there's someone else. How do you deal with that? Because it's also because, and that also is the same problem, because we don't identify the I to the deepest level. We look at the I as the Myers-Schwartz I, but I know that I could dream and I can have a different identity and it's still me. So obviously the I is deeper than that. The I opens that. What was I going to say with that? The I, where was I? I lost.
There's the I that is me through, I would say, the limited confines of the individual ego, which
Right.
is a product of the physical body.
No. That's that last part. I wouldn't say it's not a product of the physical. It's a character that the main core created for itself, a non-physical character, a consciousness.
Yeah.
But also gets influenced by a certain drone that's called the physical world, the physical body, because it's a drone and get influenced because if you bang on the head, it has a different kind of consciousness. It affects, because that's the deal, that this drone...
It gets influenced by the individuality of the goof.
Right.
But you're talking about how if you get to a deeper level of I, it's I is me and I is you and I is the core.
Right, and then I realized that I could, with the concept of method acting, where you go in character, you take over that person's character, even doesn't necessarily mean that that's the character of that person of 200 years ago, but you take over a certain character and you're playing around with that character, enjoying that character. I like to do it with the people in the room because I know that really it's me. It's me playing all these characters. So I like to trip as a method acting, and as much as I, do it, to see myself into all these characters, and then I have the opportunity to interact with myself in a pleasurable way by talking nicely and giving some good compliment and enjoying it from both ends, So that's that, and that's the real chibur. That is when you create, when you have an interest in both sides enjoying itself, because you see both sides as yourself. And then, and both people see it like that, then it creates constantly new levels of pleasure. Why? Because everyone wants to enjoy the other, and see, I usually use this in a different context a bit. I want to see if it actually works in this context as well, because I usually use it to explain why people loving each other create an infinite loop. They go into a zone of infinity, because loving is pleasure, and loving is where each other enjoy taking energy from the other person, because it gives them a certain, the mix creates something very good for them, and it goes both ways. And because I take that person's mix, I am now becoming in a different state of mind. So now that person takes it back from me in a whole different way, and it builds one on top of the other. So, and because it's pleasure, it's something that we don't need to have any other reason for it, just for doing it for its own sake. So, and we see how it goes, like, wah, wah, wah. And if we're really good at it, we could feel like we're in an infinite loop. We're going into infinity because we're going like back further into this thing, and it's endless, and we see we're just going on and on. That's why the krivim in the Beis Hamikdash were chibba zucher and akaiva. They were in loving embrace as a male and a female, says the Gemara, because that's where between those two, in that connection, you go into infinity. And actually, I created here, I wanted to bring in, because here's the Beis Hamikdash right close, I wanted to bring in that concept, so I did it with two mirrors. Because mirrors have that same concept, one against the other, that this mirror says, oh, you have a light over here, I'm also taking it. So the other mirror says, okay, I'm taking your light. So that's, and that becomes an infinite loop in the mirrors. So it's the same idea, because as the Pasuk says, Kamayim aponim leponim, kain laiva odom leodom, which means mayim, water that's face to face. What's water face to face? It's like two waters that are mirroring each other. And that is, Pasuk says, is the same like two hearts, one against the other, which is the Keruvim, their chibba, their love, connecting with the hearts. And so I realized that the mirrors is the same idea, so I connected it. So we have it here. These two mirrors, here and here. So it's one against the other, yeah.
So it seems like there's a tachlis to this as well. Because when you recognize that that there's a core I, I'm me, I'm you, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
And that my pleasure is actually fractalized. It could be your pleasure.
Yeah.
That is, it's not just, I guess my question is like this, what's the point of this consciousness, right? Like what do we first we identify the theory or the philosophy that you're coming to, but then it's like, okay, and what do we do with it?
What do we do with it? Perfect,
yeah.
perfect segue. But I want to just say one point that I wouldn't call it philosophy.
Right.
I don't like that word. I mean, I understand. It's just looking at it from a different angle. Just
perspective.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, you see the world in a beautiful, simple, understandable way. And now, how does it? This is the theory. This is the concept. Now, how does it come into practice? So we were talking about, let's go back to the ABCs. You want the ABCs, the core, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the ABCs then. Just, let's go back to the ABCs. So we talked about the Q and we talked about the W. Now let's talk about the X. Now, the X is the E. Is not really from the word, it's like ML, it's the little X, box, it's not by X, X. So it's really X. Now, it's KS. So we have another letter that has K and adds another letter to it that's totally unnecessary because you have a K and an S. And that's so you have KU and you have KS, right? So very, very weird. But KS, in the simple reading of the words, the letters, means a plural of Ks. Ks. Like, and I have in Scrabble, I have a few Ks. I write Ks. I have KS. So it's a plural of Ks. Now, let's think about it. The image, if you take a K, this and this with a line, and you put it in front of a mirror like this, you'll see a mirror image of this. You won't see the line because it's right, I tried it, right against the mirror. You don't see it, but you see this, so it becomes an X. So it really is the plural of Ks. You pluralized, you doubled the K, and it became an X, Ks. Now, it also, sure, don't know. It also has the picture and the pronunciation of kiss, and it has that very concept of kiss, because a kiss is where both entities are putting their full focus and energy on the chibur, on the connection. And that's what the two Ks are like, both are like zooming into that point of chibur, of connection. And that's a kiss. So we have, it's called Ks because it's two Ks, and it's called kiss because it has that energy. And now that letter has, just like W is there are two letters in the English alphabet that have this concept of being identified by its plurality. You have W, it's identified by its being W, and then you have K's, it's identified by that it's a double of K. Now, and both of these two letters have this interesting feature, which is, by the W you saw that when you double it, because it's identifying, look at the double and look what happens. Because what's happening is it becomes more than the double, because it comes, now with K's, this picture, you took one K, took another K, K's, you put it together. How many K's do you have now?
0.
4.
4.
4. Because you have, besides these two, you have one up and one down.
Oh.
You have
wow.
4 Ks. So the same idea, the two only letters in the English alphabet that have this plurality show both times the concept that 1 plus 1, the plurality is more than its parts,
Yeah.
but not in a nice little saying of it's more than, the total is more than the sum of its parts, but showing it in the most amazing, mind-blowing way where you actually have 2 Ks, and what happens is it multiplies by itself. So it's the multiplication symbol, the X. And but here's the thing. What happened here? What's the difference between the W and the X? The W, the connection is at the very end. By the X, the connection is at the core. Both of them are fully aligned to connect. Then, in this image, then it creates its counter image, the perfect counter image, so it creates another 2, because from the vacuum, because of the 2 sides, I'm just saying this is a little bit of a concept, but I'm saying factually, by being aligned fully, you create these other 2. So this is the kiss that creates. So what does it create? It's not just that it created 2. It created something far more significant than that. What? So here's where I want to step back and talk a minute about pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure is what drives the world, what everyone wants, and no one knows how to get it. From the pauper to the richest Elon Musk, no one knows how to get it, and that's why there are all the wars and all the fights, because people are just trying other ways how to, maybe if I'll make $1 billion, and then it becomes its own game, and they forget about it because there's no other game really, because there's no pleasure. Now, why is there no pleasure? That's because, let's identify pleasure. We don't even know, so the Baal Shem Tov identified pleasure. He said, pleasure is new experience. And as we can see, when a person says, I want to go on vacation, what I would like to have is an experience. And when someone says, this wasn't just a party, this was an experience, it's like, that's the peak. Now, what are they saying when they're saying experience? The person is saying, I don't have words. I want to use the most abstract term. It was an experience. It's like outside of my way of even expressing anything besides saying it was just an experience. That's, even if they don't know how to say it, that they're saying it, that's the core of it. So really, what we enjoy the most is when it took us out of our zone completely, that we don't even have words, frames, how to express it. So this shows that the new is what we enjoy. Now, but how to create new? New, as we already saw, gets created by connection of the old. New connections of the old. That creates new. We took 1K that we already have, another K we already have, that's old. We made a connection and it created 2 more Ks. So and that goes in reality as well. You take orange juice and grapefruit juice, you put it together, you have a different mix, a new reality. It's always the mix creates something new. So that's how we create more pleasure. We mix different pleasures and it creates whole new realms of pleasure. It's not just another taste, because if we know how to mix it, as we saw, just sight and touch, boom, you have a new reality. And this could go on and on, creating new kinds of realities and stuff and everything by mixing, knowing how to mix all kinds of different pleasures. So where was I? Where was I going here?
That everyone wants pleasure, that the newness
Oh.
is inherent in that.
Right, and newness, and the way to get to newness is by creating by in newness in any given field is by connecting old things in different combinations, and you have new letters, words, sentences, stories, tables, chairs. Everything is by creating and removing the old in different formats, and you create new concepts, new ideas, new realities and stuff. So that's how we create new, is by connecting. And Baal Shem Tov says he saw all this by the ultimate pleasure, which is zivug, and which is also we connect, and the pleasure gets expressed the most while it's the most intense, by feeling a form of connection, wanting to hug and connect. So it's that connection, because then we see ourselves in a very deep way as one, something so new to us, because it's the deepest kind of newness, not just new that the table is new, but that ourselves are something new. So that's why it's intense pleasure. It's so new. So now we have a working understanding of what's pleasure, that we have to constantly create new combinations from experiences of pleasure to create. But the problem is, how do we do that? What exactly is the way to go about that, to create? But here, I actually started going into explaining my app that I mentioned maybe to you, that I think is in itself something that is a Geulah app, is going to change the world from the app perspective itself. I actually started explaining the problem of why we don't have pleasure is because we don't know what pleasure is, and we don't know how to make it happen. But so I want to keep that. We'll talk about how we could create a platform to be able to combine experiences. Like imagine if someone tells me, I'm going to a deserted island for 10 years, give me something to enjoy. So I give him 7 notes, music notes. He doesn't know, and first he looks at it, he says, you're crazy, he thinks to himself, what did you give me? 7 notes, and in a minute I'm bored. And he realizes, I could connect, I could combine, and he creates zillion, trillion songs of pleasure, and he enjoys it every minute. He's fully occupied. So it's the idea of connection, as the Baal Shem Tov says. That's when you see pleasure. That's when new combinations make it pleasurable. Otherwise, it's just boring. It's just nothing. So the problem is that our experiences is like before the guy realized how to connect. We have experiences, boom, we finish another experiences. We don't, and it becomes very boring. We did this, been there, done it, and we become very, so there's no pleasure because we don't know how to connect. And that's my app idea, is creating a platform that will bring about people to make amazing stories, connections, and create that new level of pleasure because of that. That's the app idea that Hashem gave me. But now we're going back. You were asking me what's the Geulah consciousness as far. So we went back to the X. So I first went to say that pleasure is creating new, right? But how do we create new in a way that we go into an infinite loop, that is by creating new, that new is also a new connection. So that new connection creates another new connection. What does this mean? It's very abstract. And how do I get to that kind of idea? To the letter X. Because the letter X, the two Ks, the connection of the two Ks created another kiss. Not just that it created two other Ks, it created these two Ks to be connected. So it shows, this letter gives the idea of understanding in the most primitive, basic form, and the most essential reality, showing the idea of how a connection can create not just something new, but could create another connection. So that connection already could also, so you already see how it could be infinite. So this letter X gives infinity to pleasure. Because once we realize that connection is pleasure, so we connect and we see that this connection could create another connection, and that connection could do the same again once we understand that concept. So we see how we could go into a infinite loop of pleasure. How? We'll talk about it in a minute, but I want to say that interestingly enough, this letter X, the Gemara says that the way we make Mashiach, anoint the kelim of the Bet HaMikdash, was to mean like a chi yavonet, a Greek chi. Now, in Greek, this symbol, this X, is pronounced chi, like the Chinese leader has an X and it's called chi. So, and in the Rambam, this letter is shown as the letter for Mashiach. Now, it makes sense because Mashiach means smear, the literal definition, and X is the perfect way of expressing distribute, smear all the way. But also, the fact is that in Greek, the letter X means the anointed one, because X, Christ, doesn't mean the Christian Jesus. It means the anointed one. Christians really mean Mashiachisten. Now, X is the way Christ is spelled, the first letter, and sometimes it's used Xmas instead of Christmas, because the X also means the same definition as Christ, which means the anointed one. So X in Greek means the anointed one, and the Gemara says that this is how the Mashiach was made. The anointing of the kelim, the vessels of the Beis HaMikdash, were made with this Greek symbol. So even some people are not sure if it means this symbol or another symbol, but the fact that this symbol means, the definition of it means anointed one, that shows that this is the symbol that we're talking about. Now, and this symbol, this Mashiach symbol, is, as we just discussed, is the symbol that gives us the new idea of pleasure, unlimited pleasure. It shows how you could connect, that it doesn't just, the very idea that one and one create something new to the W is beautiful, but it creates two, but it doesn't only create two, it creates a new connection that brings us to infinity. That's the Mashiach symbol. Mm-hmm. Now, when the X sits like this, and it has this image, it connects the pieces of the two sides, because it like shows like the two sides. Zoom. What's the two side? W, X, Y. W is Vav, the V. Y is the Yud. It connects the Yud to the Vav. That's the Mashiach. The Geulah consciousness is to realize that everything is Yud, really, like we were just talking about, to understand what it means that Yud, Vav, that the Vav is just another Yud, looking at itself from a different perspective. So it's all Ruchni, it's all God, we're all one. So that's what the X is going to show, but it's going to be through pleasure, because it's going to bring pleasure. So it connects the Yud and the Vav. Now, we spoke about the W, that it's called W, but it's pronounced V. Now, here's an interesting letter, the Y. The Y is the other way around. It's used Y, but it's called W. People don't even realize. How's it W? It doesn't even have a Y sound there. It's just W. We're so what? It's not even, and we're so used to using a Y that we somehow see we're saying a Y. That explains why. Why? When we ask why, what's going on in the world? The answer is, look how you're pronouncing the Y, and you're talking about the Vav, when you really should think about the Yud. You're calling it Vav, and you're simply not even realizing that you're not getting the point. And that's why. When you have a question like that, is because you don't get something. You didn't get it all the way. And it shows it with the very letter. So, but in any event, both letters, the Y and the W, have the Yud and the Vav, each in a different way. Here it's W, but it's used as a Vav, and here it's Y, but it's called Wa. It's Ya, but it's called Wa. And these two combinations gets connected to the X. So this is one aspect. This whole thing is a strong aspect why I think that all these understandings that I got with prophecy, which we can talk about and stuff, is just something beyond just natural things. I had a prophecy. I'm showing here letters that are beyond possibility of a human mind having made this, put in and not told anyone. The X, the whole idea of concept of kiss, creating this, everything is like insanity. It's like, who made this? And being that I know that there is a God, I know that there's a core, so I know who this player is. And it makes so much sense, because Yud Vav is the most beautiful, deep way. Now here's the thing. According to the Baal Shem Tov, and according to what we discussed before, that everything is the core, and from there it comes out. How does it come out? Through language. We discussed this already. Through language, through letters. So it's the Yud Vav. It's from all perspectives, you see that the Yud Vav is the name of where everything starts from. Is the core of everything. And if we connect to that place, then connect to that place means we see ourselves over there, because that's where we really are. That's what the Baal Shem Tov says. We should always, by davening, we should connect ourselves to letters, and mainly to the Aleph, because the Aleph is the letter that comes from the Ayin and makes the first transition, and then everything just is ready, just permutations of that. It's just that concept, and that's the place where we want to be in control. We want to sit there, and that's the Yud Vav. That's where everything starts. So all this is one big thing that shows the truth of Hashem, the truth of the Torah, and that Hashem gave me. Now, He also gave me not only the X, the explaining it, but also how to make it in a physical way in the app. And he gave me, while I had the prophecy, he gave me, which I had when I wasn't religious, but I was real all the time, and that's what Hashem wants, to be real. To really, then you find, then he opens himself. Then it's there, because you have to be real enough that all the layers peel away, and you see the world, you see the reality. That's then you get Neviah and stuff. So you see, he gave me at the time of the prophecy. It's just not only that I saw a vision that clarified for me, put everything in place, But in that second, I went into layers of pleasure, like pleasure which we usually associate and call physical, the most intense physical pleasure, but trillion times more like, and I was like connecting and making new pleasures, and I was like going on until the point that I just felt like I'm staying here. I don't want to go anyplace else. But then I'll go back and forth. I was able to do it for 2 months, back and forth, but less and less. And then I got like busy with other stuff, and I was like thinking I have it, and I disappeared.
Sounds like ecstasy.
No, it wasn't. I didn't take ecstasy.
No, like stam ecstasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something insane, and I got it because I was totally got into the mode of prophecy, of seeing the world in that new way, which gave me an understanding, which I was able to explain today, and because I got that understanding and I was so there, I saw everything as the core. I got the core, so right away I went to pleasure, because that's where we go.
And this came spontaneously.
Yeah. It actually, I'm on weed, which I always am on, but that's all I was on. And the first part was a very scary part, and there's a lot of significance to the first part, but now I'm talking about the second part, and was very, very interesting. I thought I was up, and my stomach started becoming like bigger and but I allowed it to happen. I was like in a dream-like state, and I felt like there's a light, and all of a sudden, boom, the whole room is full of light, and I'm seeing a disposable glove upside, like, when you lift it out, and that's so I said, wow, everything starts the other way around, and that clarified. I was like struggling with understanding the connection of the physical and that, and it all made sense, and I got it, and then I went into pleasure, and I was able to, as I said, then I was doing it for a little bit, and then I was able to repeat it next. And now I lost it, but then I'm in a very good place at it, meaning I could always bring myself.
Where were you? Like, how did this come? Like, what was the circumstance, the setting?
I was in my apartment, and I was sitting on my bed, and I was I first saw the bad part, which was my family, because I was then not religious, so I was not part of my family. And they came and saw that were told me you're gonna suffer and whatever, and it actually happened. I had very bad years, 2 years of mental pain. They told me you're gonna bang your head on like this, and that's what I did. It could be self-fulfilling, but I had so I do accept it as a prophecy, because the other part was, as the Rambam writes, a prophecy is, which is when an image is given to you and it explains to you something very new through the image, then that's a prophecy. But I would even question that for myself, because I would think maybe because I was in that thing and I got it with that image, but I went into panic, and that's like an unbelievable level, because panic, according to the Baal Shem Tov, is the highest level. Why? And that's, the Baal Shem Tov says, our Brit with Hashem is the place of Tannik, because pleasure is, as we were talking about by the Keruvim, that's, you could connect to Ein Sof. Pleasure is what connects us to Ein Sof. So therefore, I don't know.
So I have a few questions.
Okay.
Is number one, and this relates to what you told me over Shabbos, is my understanding, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is there's no prophecy officially, right, until times of the Mashiach. Okay, so
it's not something that is a halacha. It's more of certain people think like that. Other people said, well, not known prophecy, not common like hundreds of people, because we lost the guides, the methodology or something. But there always could be people that had prophecy. Mm-hmm. It's not like totally. That's number one, and number two. Because my prophecy, which gave me an understanding of to be able to explain Hashem, and it took me to a place I had very tough times the last long time, but especially the last half year. I was by people around me, I'm not going to say why, I was thrown into a mental asylum for 3 months. And the doctors also, it was very, very weird. I actually left without them giving me the okay. And because I thought to myself, it's impossible, it's illegitimate what's happening. And then I found out that they had no right to keep me. And that's why they weren't able to do anything. They just fooled me. They didn't tell me that I had a right to leave. It was very interesting. And here I'm 2 months later chilling and everything. Nothing happened. I didn't take any medication. I always took it. It was baloney. It's a crazy story. Because you know, presumably it's my community, because I'm saying I'm a Mashiach, and until recently I was looking for every kula, in the book, because that's how I saw. I didn't understand my connection to Hashem, to the Torah. I knew it's true because the Yudke Vovke and stuff, but it didn't work for me, and I trusted my instincts. In the end, I found that this concept that we have to follow because he says so, that's not a real king. The real beautiful king is when he does it. A real king is when he works because he enjoys his people. So that's the kind of king we talk about. And that king, we don't even see in the way of, he says so. We just see right away he loves us. He loves to be together with us. He loves to chill with us. So that imagine that kind of king, how people want to serve him, but not because he says so, but because they love this whole trip. And they want to just go along with his trip perfectly because he knows how to make everything perfect. That's it. So that's the energy, and that's what I found. And then I realized everything is pleasure. Well, everything is about, he's not here to say because I want you to do it, but because he wants to have the best pleasure. So I realized that it's a recipe book for pleasure. So then I was able to connect. And now, so that's why I see every chumrah, it's not a chumrah, it's a hiddur, it's a making better my recipe for Tanakh. Because I know for sure that this is the idea of this king, is doing it for a recipe for pleasure.
So do you actually, when you say Mashiach, like you mean like the Mashiach?
Yes.
So I have a technical question. I heard that Mashiach is going to show up like on a donkey between Sfat and Meron. So
it's very.
Or he'll reveal himself maybe from this way.
I mean, who knows? I didn't even know how Hashem is going to make me reveal myself in a way that's going to be accepted. Because think about it. Imagine if these things. Think, for example, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, 20 real powerful people. See. This is logical. What I said here. It's not. You don't have to. It's not blind faith. Everything makes sense. They see it, and they say it. Boom! It's a new world. It's a new world. So it's not so far. I don't know if it answers your question. What was your question?
I just was asking the technicalities of if you qualify according to the literature on what Mashiach is.
Okay, so I'm saying Mashiach, the Baal Shem Tov says Mashiach is Besod Hadas, which means in the secret of das, of understanding, meaning Mashiach is going to be a paradigm shift. This way of looking at the world is much, much more than just that it's going to be a nice place, we're going to have just familia. It's a whole way of us seeing ourselves as God. That's really Mashiach, is really when he gets it all the way, the ani, till the end. And then it's a whole new way we're going to experience. It's still going to be this world because this is the fun, this is the trip, this is the movie. But it's going to be where we could go in and out. We could not get lost like we're now, because now, until now, Hashem, the setup, I don't know exactly why, but the setup is that the world should from itself feel how from within it connects. No, I understand why, because these pieces have to develop. Now, the development of the pieces is through this process, because I look at it because it's creating. Look at it this way, when I have infinite possibilities, right? So, and I could create however I want, whatever I think. So I would just say, okay, let me see, this, it takes me a split second. I have to say, not this, because I'm going here, I want to create this, I want to do this. By building boina, I'm saying this yes, this not. So I'm building things. So, which means that what was I was trying to say something very, very nice. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was trying to say, building pieces, that it has to get played out. Because this is, I was trying to say, Geulah, why it needs that. So, in other words, in any scenario of pieces coming together to start forming a beautiful musical game for eternity, that starts from separate pieces has to be a process of elimination, of taking away, of moving, of setting up. So it means that there's going to be, because it has to be from itself, because it moves. It goes here, this, okay, so this piece comes out. So while it's still in that process, it's not perfect. It's not yet there. Because even if it's in the mind of the creator, it also goes, being that the creator created it as a separate, it goes through a process of movement where it gets together, this, and it becomes. So, and now, all we're saying is that we're playing it out. So it's also the same process. It's not right away at the end, because that's the whole idea, that we don't want to be right away at the end, because we want to have the whole fun of new. If we're right away at the end, we don't have new. So we created that whole thing of having separate and being able to make new chiburim and new tzirufim and new tanugim, new chedushim. So all this is why it has to be that this world should play out, and from this place we should get to the level of playing it. And this is where Mashiach comes in, because it has to come from the humanity, from this whole reality, to bring it to that place. And the Baal Shem Tov says that he uses the metaphor that it's about that we're not doing chibik v'nishik, foreplay. We're not doing foreplay enough, which means foreplay is where we make that the woman, which is identified as the chomer, not the energy, the giving energy, but that, from that perspective, it should want the core. It should come from there. That's how he explains it, because you want that this body, this reality should be set up finally to start booming and playing the game, but it has to be fine-tuned from within itself. And from the chomer, it has to come from within, and because then you have the pieces. So that's when it goes to the level it's set up, and then we're flying, Tanig Ein Sof. And that's the X, the kiss, creates that, and that is I have an app.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Go on.
The app explains this. As we were discussing before, that what we need is that our experiences, which we do already, a certain experience. Okay, how many times can we go to a restaurant? Okay, it's boring. Okay, how many times can we go to music? Okay, so it becomes like, why? Because it's like the 7 notes that person got, which are separate, and each one is, how many times can you just go again and again? You don't have the opportunity to combine and create new, which we now know that's the fun. So we need a platform for that. So here's the platform. The platform is an app, simple app. The app is subscription based. Now, it's also location based, meaning when you open it up, you see the people around in the neighborhood, and you could like hit their profile and see what they're about. Now, this app is about sharing experiences, because as we know that always when it's a combination, it's a lot more fun, because we have 2 new energies, it's not the same. So this app is a lot about sharing experiences. Every experience here is shared with someone else. It's done together. And also, as I said before, this app is going to be a platform to create beautiful stories. Let's see how. So I click on a profile. I'm here, 6 o'clock, my work is finished, I want to have some experiences, some fun. So I click on profile. And so now here's the first thing. This profile, you only gets populated, your profile, what other people wrote, how they enjoyed experiencing with you. So that's number one.
Like Yelp for human beings.
Right, but that's a lot different. Let me make this a little hot for me. Thank you. Second.
I just want to say before we go deeper in the app, you're almost answering my question because I was going to ask you, how do we bring the Geulah consciousness? And it seems through pleasure, right? How do we chop on an experiential level all of the concepts that you're bringing down? And it seems like the app is actually very tachlis.
חבר'ה, חברים, אתם רוצים ללכת? מה?
נשארים פה עוד שניים.
בסדר. אוקיי, אז טוב, מצוין.
טוב, לילה טוב.
לילה טוב.
There's people up there?
Yes, no more people out there, yeah. So, come again, please?
Just that the app kind of brings it to a tachlis place, because when I asked you how do we arrive at this consciousness, how do we do it, right? Like, it's not enough to just have the concept, but what do we do about it?
Okay, so here I want to answer the question
Yeah.
before I go to the app with one little point to say this. The way Mashiach is going to come, this consciousness is when there's going to be one person who's going to get it fully, who's going to live it fully, and then he's going to be in such a beautiful place, is such pleasure that the people around him are going to say, you are explaining this to me, or you're not walking out of this room. And it's not difficult. It's only that we have to be open to it. And when someone sees this level of enjoyment, of pleasure, they were just going to ask for it and they're going to get it. And then their friends are going to tell them the same thing, because once they get it, and that's going viral.
Mm-hmm.
Because once this is so powerful, it takes over. That's what it means, the allegory of a poor man riding a donkey. It means that it means that he's not going to come with guns. He's going to come a simple person without anything, and just with an idea, he's going to change everything. Just by him being himself, he's going to change the world. That's the goal of Mashiach. So really, if I believe so, and I believe that I'm Mashiach, why am I talking then? I should just be quiet and come to the... But I believe that the way for me to get there is by proclaiming it, by saying it, by believing it, by seeing Hashem's Nisam and seeing what Hashem showed me, and believing him, and not being lying to myself because it sounds funny and ridiculous, like I belong in an asylum, mental asylum, because I'm that kind of thing. And that's what the doctor wrote. I say everyone is God. Yes, I think everyone is God. So she wrote that I'm crazy because I think everyone is God. Anyways, so and it was a lot of it's an obvious setup. It's the same, but you listen, whatever. I understand. I'm like an anomaly and such different views and versions, and it went away, and it was bad. So going to the app. So we have the app. So it's populated by people. This is still working? This is working fine? Yeah?
Yeah, it's working. My phone is working. We
have it all covered. Okay,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the app. How do we get... Okay, so the guy opens the app, clicks it, and sees a profile of a person. Now, what are they going to see there? What other people wrote? What did other people write? Now, the other people... is this app, we're going to realize that these people who wrote about the experience they shared with you have a very strong incentive to write it in the most possible way that other people are going to want to connect to this story. Meaning are going to want to say, wow, I want to do something like this, similar. The smarter, because why? Because just like in in songs. You could connect songs, but you have to teach yourself how to connect notes that it should be beautiful, right? And the better you connect, you know how to connect. לילה טוב. כולם הולכים? עוד? אוקיי? אוקיי. אבל הוא גם עוד. בוא נראה.
Just like you connect songs, you're connecting notes that it should be beautiful. The
And
better you know how to connect.
It. You have to understand though, the same thing is this platform, which we're going to soon see how it incentivizes this kind of connection, but we're going to have to, it's a learning curve a little bit. We're going to have to see how to connect and make it, it's going to happen automatically once we know how to do it. But now we don't yet know exactly how that is going to be the best way. But how it's going to work is that I'm going to see in someone's profile some experiences that someone wrote, how they enjoyed the experience, and in a way that makes me feel like I could do it someplace else and have a nice addition to it. Like in a song, it becomes a story. It's not an isolated experience anymore. And I could message the guy. Now, if that person looks at my profile and if that person sees I have a good way of creating stories, people write, I know how to create good experiences, he'll say, okay, because I'm not telling him exactly what I'm doing. He has to rely on the spot. We're going to make it interesting, have a fun time. So he looks up what people write about me, and I offered it to him only because I also looked up how he writes about experiences, because when I offer an experience in this game, the game works that I offer an experience, I write to the person, I would like to continue your story, and he's going to document that. He's going to put it, and it's going to go on my profile, so now the story is with me. And now if someone likes the story, because it already has 2 chapters, that person connects to me and has to offer me an experience. So what happens is that I offer this one person an experience. As good as I create the experience, and as good as that person could relate that experience and document it, I get something here which other people want to connect to more. So the more I enjoy my experience, I'm rewarded with a better experience offers, because the better I could have like 10 offers, and one could be, I have a yacht for a month, let's continue this story because I'm enjoying this. This is insane the way it's going, and I have this amazing, and this could be fun and whatever, and I don't even know how to explain it because pleasure is new, and we're new, we don't have it yet, only when we connect it. But so this is how we can create a chain of a story, and to answer the problem of how we connect experiences to make it into beautiful song. So we have the platform here because I have all the different profiles that I can, and every profile you could have 20 stories that different people have, that you have with different people, and I could continue a particular one that I think I have something to add, something beautiful, and it goes continuous, and then someone else adds to me, and I am enjoying the stories that I created, because I also want to see how it developed, because I put in little details, because the 7 generations later I want to see how it's moving. It's insane what it creates, a new world, a new way. Now this is not only fun. Why? Because I am going to, if I'm hungry, I'm going to try I'm going to try to offer, I'm going to look for someone that cooks well and say, I saw your story here, I want to offer you an amazing experience, I have this beautiful place right here, but you make the food, and let's do something together like that. And I have a musician here and stuff, it's going to be insane. So I put myself in to get my necessities as well. And I this one month I go to this house on vacation, the next house, it becomes, we're able to create all our needs, and not only needs, we create all our projects, because instead of building or doing work to be uncomfortable and not something that we like. We do it all through the app, and it's only a fun experience because everything we want to do, we want to be creative and enjoy. So it becomes a pleasure. So that's what the app idea is. It in a physical, simple way, we have where it creates the infinite loop of pleasure. And what's the idea of the app? Every interaction, every connection creates a new connection. And that's the X, that's the kiss, that's the Mashiach consciousness. And that's why the app is called this symbol, but pronounced kiss. And I already have the name for the company. I already named it. It's like this, like by Twitter. And Twitter has formerly Twitter. Here I have pronounced kiss. So this is.
I love that.
Yeah.
How far along is the app?
Well, the app is. I already a while back we did all the developing as far as understanding how to develop it and stuff. And it's a very, very simple app. It's a very simple app to do. It's 2 chats. I have it down to pat, but it needs to happen, and it's very tough because app developers are just take it for a ride all the time. And it's only if I could incentivize them with a share. Problem is that this app is about to get rid of the whole concept of money, because everything is going to go through this app where it's a new kind of exchange of energy. The typical exchange of energy up to now is where I have something, I want to keep it for myself, and you have something, and we have to exchange. How much do I have to give? How much do you have to take? And so on. But the new app is the concept of collaboration. It's the concept where 2 people who create this experience, they each have an interest. Collaboration is where your fun, your value, your pleasure is value for me. That's when it's a good collab, where each one benefits from the other's advantage. It gets advantage from the other's benefit, whatever. It's the same thing. And that's in this app where I want the other person to very much enjoy this experience, because only then we'll have a perfect production. He'll write it out perfectly. He'll get the nuance of what's going on. And this person wants me to be in a good place. Otherwise, he can't write, because if he writes lies, it's going to be caught. People are not going to like his things. They're not going to trust his. So he's building up a brand. He has to be careful. So both of us want the others. This kind of setup is where we incentivize both to want each other. We incentivize that the person that wants to write the best way possible, because other people should see that they write, they relate well. Writing, it could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be talking, it would be poetry, whatever. Any way that you create a momentum, a movement of people wanting to connect to it, and the better you are on that, the better people offer you experiences and stuff. So it's a new world. Chaim to the new world.
Chaim. Are we true?
Yeah, maybe stop and make it a new clip, because